Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to another professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I got for you today is a much requested game that was recently played at WCS Montreal. I had a lot of people in particular on Twitter mention that I should really go ahead and cast this game if I had not seen it live. So without further ado, let's have a look at what this match is all about. I'm ready for it because I think it's gonna be awesome. Spawning here in the bottom right hand corner of Parasite LE and playing with the blue Terran SCVs. He's from China. We have none other than Time. And his opponent spawning in the top left hand corner. He's a legend in StarCraft 2. One of the most successful non-Korean StarCraft 2 players of all time. He's from France, and he goes by the name of Stephano. So here's the thing, whenever a WCS event wraps up, usually they release the replay pack quite quickly. And the same for WCS Montreal. In case you're interested, I'll go ahead and link the tweet down below in the description of this video if you want to download the replay pack yourself. But regardless, even though I try to watch as many of the replays, or rather as many of the live games as I can, I obviously do not have the option to just simply watch every single game, just because, you know, the broadcast for WCS events usually they're like 10 hours a day or something over the course of like 3-4 days, and it just takes forever to watch everything, and I just simply don't have the option. That does mean though that for all of the games that I miss, right, I should be able to go ahead and cast those myself. So if there was an awesome series that you really enjoyed watching at WCS Montreal, let me know down below in the comment section, and I may very well start casting that one in the future. I had a couple of good requests. I know there's a Neep game that a lot of people asked me to go ahead and cast. I know of this one. There's a game that a lot of people recommended from Raynor that he played as well. Should be a couple of good casts coming up, but I'm excited to figure out why this game was requested as much as it was. So far, very standard openers right here from both players. We do see that hatchery right here on the low ground, and obviously already that gas coming up as well. Stephano not really getting nearly as much gas as you usually see actually in the Zerg versus Terran matchup. Instead, it looks like he's going to try and opt for that third base before the Reaper can even arrive. Very aggressive third base here. It's even taken before the command center can be confirmed on the low ground here for Terran, which actually is kind of a risk, right? Obviously, if that third base goes up and there's no natural expansion for Terran, things can become rather messy right from the get-go. But Stephano taking a small little risk, knowing that his opponent is very, very likely to take that expo anyway, and he's going to be able to get that third base up uncontested. Speaking of which, Time, he doesn't mess around. He immediately starts up a third command center here too. So look at that. Time is trying to outgreed his opponent, whereas Stephano already has that third base going off earlier even than that third command center. Very, very interesting. Now, usually, obviously, with the hatchery also just simply being a production structure for Zerg, I mean, it allows you to produce stuff, right? It's not nearly as much of a risk as taking a third command center is. Stephano did move over the Overlord from one pillar to the next, so I do think he wants to suicide it in just a little bit, but one Marine has already been tasked with the duty of shooting down that Overlord as quickly as possible. As a follow-up though, Time is gonna go for that 1-1-1 style. This build that he's playing actually was something that a lot of the top-of-the-line Terrans were doing for a bit. In particular, Innovation was pretty fond of this build. I saw him play that many times, and it's actually pretty interesting because while you do get that really strong early game economy, just simply the mindset that a lot of Zerg players are in right now makes it so that they don't really play very aggressive against Terran. The thing is that Terran can technically stop all of the early game pushes. Well, here we go. Stephano is going to confirm that that third CC is up. But on paper, Terran should be able to stop all early game aggression from Zerg, which means that Zerg oftentimes just don't opt to go for any aggression anymore. Which obviously then in its turn once again allows Terran to go for a much greedier third base. It's like a gentleman's agreement in a way. Anyways, Time is gonna follow this up with a Hellion drop. So 4 Hellions are loaded up into the Medivac. The Overlord does not know about the fact that there is that tech lab even up, but even though Time wasn't really using it for any Banshee play or whatever, he is getting himself that quick stim pack, and that will allow him to indeed transition towards that bio-based army. Matter of fact, ooh, nice dodge there. Trying to go all the way around, Stephano actually uncharacteristically does not have an Overlord over here, so he won't see that these Hellions are going into the main base until right now. Zerglings immediately come running up that ramp. I think all things considered, yeah, that response time there was very quick. Stephano won't really be taking any kind of critical damage, and instead, he queues up an additional 9 drones. Because Stephano is very good at droning, okay? This is one of the things that made him so very popular back in the day. He was capable of producing armies that seemed to be much bigger than everyone else, at least when it came to other Zerg players, just because he had such a massive eco already right from the get-go. Cheeky. I like that. I like that a lot. Alrighty, so it looks like we're setting ourselves up for a bit of a macro game. And you guys know, I'm a big fan of the cheese. I don't mind it when games end early, but I am definitely a big fan when players like to play that really long macro game. And Stephano, probably one of the most patient pro gamers, he's very likely to feel extremely confident in the late game. His micro, I think it must be a remnant of his Warcraft 3 days, but his micro is really good with the maxed out armies, with all of the different spellcasters and whatnot, so I think he's gonna be fine by playing that late game. Now, Time, I know plenty of things about Time. I've seen him play a bunch of times, but he's definitely not, he's not as well known as opposed to Stephano, just because a lot of the Chinese scene likes to stay amongst each other. They're very, very good, actually. There's some really interesting Chinese strategies that some of them like to play, but overall, I think Time is going to be one of the very best, if not the strongest player over in China. So far, though, Hellion Harass is really not getting anything done, but then again, Time didn't really lose anything here either. Just picking up a couple of tumors here and there, just like that. Roasting a Zergling, but both players giving each other a lot of respect without really overcommitting. Now, this will now be spotted, right? Stephano knows that there's a big push coming up. Let's see how he responds. There's quite a lot of Zerglings, no Banelings or whatever to be seen anywhere just yet. These links are... Oh, actually, there are a couple Banelings. I was going to say, I thought I saw them on the production tab, but there are a couple Banelings now ready to go, but there's no Baneling speed. 1-1 is just about to finish up for Zerg, which actually is timed out quite nicely. That's a couple seconds remaining, but there's no denying that the same can be said right here for the Terran infantry upgrades. It does look like, though, there's just simply way too much Zerg, and Stephano overwhelms it seconds before the infantry weapon upgrades finish, as well as the armor. That's a big deal, actually. I don't think it really matters if the Banelings manage to just simply connect like they did right there, but pushing right before upgrades finish can actually be a rather big deal. Nice wall there, actually. Time managed to complete that just a second before the Zerglings were ready to go for their run by. Could have been game ending. I think all things considered, though, that was a relatively small commitment. You can see supply-wise, it doesn't even really matter all too much. Beautiful target firing right there by Time. Picks up all of those Banelings, and the Zerglings will once again be looking at these medevacs. They were ready to claw at the Zerglings, but sadly for them, they're not going to be able to hit those medevacs in the air. Even though Zerglings have wings, you know, they should be able to fly, at least like chickens. Well, chickens can kind of fly, right? Once again, nice little pickup micro. Time actually showing us that he's really good at just simply sniping those Banelings. It's actually very important to reduce that that count of Banelings in the game. Banelings are not so very cheap. A lot of people just simply make a ton of them, but they're actually rather pricey in the grand scheme of things, in particular for a unit that literally suicides itself. Now, we are getting to the point, though, where I feel like Stephano, once again, beautiful target firing there. Did you see that? Super quick. We are arriving, though, at the point right now where I feel like Stephano is most comfortable. He's allowed to play that super defensive, laid-back style that allows him to go to the late game. Speaking of late game, he's already going up to the Hive right now, 8.5 minutes. He's already halfway done with that. Going up to the 2-2 upgrades, he's going to be able to start 3-3 right after the Hive finishes, which definitely is a very, very nice lined up set of upgrades, and that's really going to make this bio-based army from the Terran player think twice in order to engage once again. A whole lot of queens here dedicated as well to the spreading of the creep, so even though Time is doing a great job getting a lot of these tumors out of the battlefield, I mean, they immediately get replaced by like 3 queens that have apparently dedicated their lives just to spreading creep. Big army, though, coming up. Ooh, this is a nice pickup, actually, for Time. He manages to get a lot of those Zerglings. Banelings, once again, target fire down brilliantly. Did you see that? It's hard to even see because he's doing it so quickly. But every single time there's an engagement like that, well, hold that thought. Well, no. Every single time there's an engagement like that, the Banelings, there we go, once again, get target fired first. He doesn't just attack move, he manually clicks those. There's no easy way of doing that. You just simply have to attack move every single one of these. Very impressive play. Now, +2/+2 did finish up right now for time. The same can be said for Zerg already as well. Zerg not going into +3 just yet. There's also that vehicle weapon upgrade right here for time, so he's going to be able to get quite a bit of damage out of these siege tanks. It will all come down to the engagement. I have to say, though, I favor this position here for time quite a bit. Zerglings and Banelings trying to go for that run-by, and maybe, right? The sandwich can hurt quite a bit. Couple of these Marines already stimming back. They know that something is not quite right. They're going to be eating quite a lot of those Baneling hits, but here comes the swarm. Stephano coming in from every single angle, and he manages to once again clean that up. Now, even though I did favor the engagement there initially for time, and even though his army did get wiped out, it killed the base as well, which is quite important. Trying to slow down the Zerg player is one of the most critical things that a Terran player can do. And while apparently this command center was damaged a little bit on the other side of the map, this base, now the 4th here for Terran, is gonna go up pretty much uncontested. Double Spire. Ooh, look at that. I was gonna say, is he gonna go for the Ultralisk switch, or what's the plan? Terran players have gotten really good at dealing with Ultras. Look at that. We already see the Liberators right now coming up for time. So I think he assumes that it's gonna indeed be Ultralisk play. But instead, we're seeing that Double Spire. So this could be for upgraded Mutalisk, obviously, but more than likely, he's gonna go for upgrades in one of the Spires and then Greater Spire on the other. Medevac right here on the left-hand side is gonna snipe on one of those bases. Beautiful work here by our Chinese Terran. Snipes a couple of tumors as well. Woo! Look at that. Perfect micro on those Marines, man. I'm really actually impressed. That was sick. He sniped all of the tumors and the base and picked up all of the Marines before they could die. Same can be said right here on the other side. Looks like a couple of Marines there do end up dying, but once again, a whole lot of tumors. At the same time, double medevac aggression here from our blue Terran player. He's trying his very best. Now, Stephano, though, is coming up with a lot of Zerglings and Banelings. Unlike Cyril, unlike Raynor, and unlike a lot of the top-level Zergs right now, he has not really attempted any kind of run-bys whatsoever. I'm curious to see why that is. Obviously, this base, right, it was vulnerable for a while. Maybe he could run some Zerglings over here. He did do a couple of Lings and Banes, right, but not nearly as much of a commitment as we saw from some of these other Zerg players. I really feel like that's one of the things that Stephano can easily add to his gameplay, right? It's one of those things. There we go. Big Zergling run-by coming up. I feel like he could start doing this much earlier, but there we go. That was beautiful. Couple of attempted run-bys earlier, didn't really achieve very much, but that's one of the things you see like Cero and Raynor do in particular. They commit a lot of resources, probably like 20 supply worth or so, just on dedicating themselves to run-bys and all that. It's quite interesting. Once again though, Medivac's now headed towards the top right-hand corner. Zerglings are running in every single direction. He's not just simply splitting them up before the units can even really arrive, which is smart. That way you can sort of counter any kind of aggression like this. But this time around though, it's not just going to be Medivacs. There's also going to be a couple of these Liberators. And there we go. That one is going to be able to, well, not kill very much. At the same time, Zerglings are coming across the map as well. 2 Medivacs ready to unload their units. Probably here at that 3rd base location of Stephano. There's a single one of these Spore Crawlers trying to deal some damage as well. Looks like one actually is headed straight towards the natural. At the same time, Zerglings are running towards the 3rd base. Also a couple at the natural expansion here of time. He's going to be able to send those towards the mineral line. And damage is being taken here by both players. Look at that. The amount of multitasking that both of them are doing here is absolutely ridiculous. Trying to clean up every single one of these aggressions. And all things considered, right, while both players definitely took damage, it's not like they're in game-ending situations. I think I'm actually going to have to favor Stephano here. He still has a very solid economy, but then again, right, we still see a lot of command centers here for time. He's trying his very best to keep as much of this alive as he can, but there's no denying, right, that there's still quite a lot of Terran remaining. Supply-wise, even though it may look as if the worker count is super high in favor here of Stephano, and there's no denying that it is, there's still a lot of these Terran bio units ready to attack once again. Let's see if we can actually maybe even push right now, right? This is quite risky. There's a lot of army here. Army supply is 30 supply in favor here of Terran. Now, a couple of siege tanks, though, do get picked off for practically free. At the same time, there's this really powerful position in the center of the map. Once again, that insane crease threat here from Zerg, actually, is slowing down the Terran advancement a lot. And once again, you blink twice against this well-upgraded group of Zerglings, and once again, 10 SCVs die. Sick game. Sick game. Really well done here by both players. Once again, the Banelings are looking for those juicy connections. That is a nice hit there by Stephano. But time, he's microing away from the creep. He gets a lot of value out of that army anyway. And even though Stephano, right, still sitting at 88 drones and he's got a nice bank, there's now 5 base Terran. A 5-base Terran is not what you want to go up against if you are Zerg. Sure, you can take your entire side of the map, but it's hard to really commit to fighting this, right? Planetary fortresses and just simply the positioning right here of these bases is really good. It makes for a really difficult engagement to make if you are the Zerg player. I think we've kind of arrived right now at a bit of a lull in the game, where Time is probably going to try and build up his bases once again. A lot of aggression everywhere. Stephano definitely getting the upper hand there. It was a little difficult to judge there initially, but I kind of feel like it's now up to Stephano to really get that that ball rolling, right? To take that momentum and to take the game right here, right now. The thing is, it's not easy. Stephano is very far ahead, but not to the point where he's in like a game-winning position here already, right? Sure, you can kill those Marauders, but that was still like a whole lot of Banelings just to try and kill some of those Marauders as well. Now, there's quite a few Corruptors out, so obviously that Brute Lord switch can be imminent. It looks like that is not the case, by the way. Stephano just simply going straight into the double upgrades instead. Interesting decision there. Haven't really seen something like that very much. But even though Time is like doing these little bits of aggression here and there, this is mostly just him buying time. Hilariously speaking, pun not intended. But he's mostly just trying to buy himself a lot of that time, right? He needs to once again build up his army, and he's doing exactly that. Vikings are coming out right now in rather big numbers. We see even the Ghost now coming up, which is really smart. He's already in anticipation right now for that Ultralisk or Brute Lord or even Viper transition, but none of that is really happening. A really swarmy kind of style here from Stephano. Not really even focusing on any Hydralisk or anything along those lines. Really just Zerglings and Queens. But this is going to be an interesting one. Ooh, here we go. Very big commitment there. Beautiful micro, by the way, as well. Yes, if he's trying to go to the repairing, that's still a lot of Corruptors, though. I don't really know if that was worth it. That sure was a bunch of damage, but at the same time, we see a small group of Marines and Marauders stimming forward right there. A lot of them will sacrifice their lives for the greater good, but they managed to get a base there. And while sure, a command center failure in the center as well, I don't know if that was really value there for Stephano. Finally, we do see that Ultralisk Cavern coming up right now for our Zerg player here in red. I'm actually a little bit worried about that, right? He's been trying to close out the game with just Lings, Banes, and then also these Corruptors. Really cool unit composition, actually. Very swarmy. I'm a big fan of that, but it's really hard to close the game out, right? And while he has been trading rather efficiently, once again, a really big push coming up. Oh, man. I got a feeling that Time can hold on to this if he... Well, once again, he forces the council on that base at the very least, right? But once again, that's not really an engagement you necessarily want to take there as Zerg. Now, a lot of Lings are sneaking through, though. I love this. This is actually a really good push. Blasting through that wall there is something that I think the Zerg player should have done a little while ago. Obviously, we have all the information, but let's have a look at the supply count here. Yeah, look at that, right? Or at the units lost tab. While this is all being cleaned up, it's actually the Terran's favor right now as far as resources and units lost go. So even though Stephano has been throwing away a lot of his Zerglings and Banelings and whatnot into trying to slow down that economy, it's actually Time who's getting the cost-efficient trades. Now once again though, Stephano is not done. Look at that. He's mining so much because he's sitting on like... He was sitting on 90 workers or so earlier, right? He's just gonna continue trying to flood the map with more and more units. Keep in mind, if you have 80 supply dedicated to supply in drones, you're not gonna have that big of an army, relatively speaking. But the longer that this goes on, right, the stronger the army from Time becomes. He's really going for much more of like a death ball based army, whereas Stephano is just trying to stick on Zerglings and Banelings, trying to overwhelm this Terran bio bull. We'll have to see how this plays out. Alright, well that base in the center right now has become really important though, because the 3rd, 4th, and the natural and the main obviously are all very low on minerals. That means that Time is going to be forced once again to split off units now against a very big amount of Zerglings here as well. These Banelings are providing a lot of help too, just simply zoning away here. And every little bit counts right now. Curious to see if we're once again going to be going for a big engagement here in the center. The Corruptors thought about it for just a little while as well. Zerglings moving forward. All the Ghosts will be able to cloak. That's still a lot of Zerg though. Once again, Stephano is saying, here comes the swarm. I'll just right click on that planetary fortress. It does not matter. And Stephano, in a very well fought game, manages to swarm over his Terran opponent. And he's the one who obtains the victory. I love that, right? A lot of Zerg players are in a way kind of obsessed with trying to make Mutalisk work or trying to just simply play with Hydralisk, right? But Stephano showing us that with like, I would say 90% dedication to Zerglings and Banelings, you can perfectly win the game if you get yourself a sufficient amount of queens in the early game, and then you can just simply stick to Ling Bane for a very long time. Maybe go for upgraded Corruptors, right? 3/3 Corruptors. I mean, I guess he wasn't quite done yet with the upgrades. He was just about to finish them, actually. But still, that's a very well upgraded group of Corruptors. And I guess once you get rid of the Liberator threat, right, and maybe you get rid of a lot of the Medivacs as well, the Ultralisk switch a little bit later on makes a lot more sense. Because if you get rid of all of the area units, the Liberators obviously won't be able to shoot the Ultras, and then if there's no Medivacs and the Marauders and the Ghosts have a hard time getting healed, I guess Ultra switches might not be that bad of an idea. But even though Stephano did get himself the kite in his plating and all that, he never really made that switch. Well done, super cool game. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? A special shout out to the Patreon supporters. Thank you guys so much for helping the channel out directly. But I'll see you once again in the next one.